Police pulled me over and looked down at me, not knowing my father was their boss. I've been taught not to do anything stupid around the police because of my skin color. Living in the South as a young black man meant watching women clutch their purses when I walked past them on the street. Meant store owners trailing me through aisles. Some mornings, just leaving the house felt like stepping into a minefield. That Saturday proved me right. On a quick errand, a patrol car with 2 white officers locked onto me at the first stop sign. They tailed me for 10 minutes before flashing their lights, using their siren speaker to say I was swerving. It wasn't true, but I pulled over instantly and followed every protocol. Windows down, hands at 10 and 2. When the cops got to my car, the oldest yanked open my door and grabbed my arm, forcibly yanking me out as he yelled, "Hands on the hood, and don't you effing move!" He pressed me onto it before I could get the chance to comply. He then patted me down, violently slamming my legs apart, gripping me hard enough to leave bruises, and throwing my stuff on the hood. The younger one just watched, never removing his hand from his firearm. When the senior officer finished, he said, "We got a report of someone matching your description dealing substances in this area." I instantly recoiled. "That's not me, I live—" "Shut up," he pressed harder. Popped the trunk. Growing up with a father in law enforcement meant I knew my rights. "Sir, what's your probable cause for—" He pressed me hard against the car, shouting, "You calling me a liar, boy? You people always think you're so smart." The impact was so harsh, my wallet tumbled off the hood. That's when I heard it, the firearm being cocked. "Get on the ground, now!" My legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the concrete, feeling the cold on my skin and the officer's knee on the back of my neck. Firearm pressed against my head. I could feel my windpipe crushing under his weight, each hard push making me see black. 21 years old, and my life was about to end on the side of the road over nothing. Just another statistic. Another young black man who matched a description. The senior officer was yanking my arms back when the younger officer moved to grab my wallet from the pavement. He suddenly froze. Through my terror, I heard his sharp intake of breath. "Oh fuck," he whispered, staring at the ID. Then louder, urgent, "Stop, stop, look at this." "Not now," the young officer pushed back. "No, look at the name, look at the fucking name." The pressure on my neck eased slightly. I heard paper rustling, then dead silence. When the senior officer spoke, his voice had gone from rage to pure fear. "Williamson?" It came out strangled. "Is your father, is he the Mr. Williamson, chief of the police department?" "Yes," I managed to say. The knee lifted off my neck. The firearm disappeared. They pulled me up so fast I nearly stumbled, both officers stepping back like I was radioactive. Their faces had gone pale, eyes wide with the realization of what they'd just done. The senior officer opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The younger one gathered my belongings with shaking hands and practically threw them at me. This was, the senior officer couldn't even finish a sentence. "You're free to go," the younger one blurted out. "This was all just a misunderstanding." They bolted back to their vehicle. I finally made it back home. My father was in his study, working on some paperwork. He looked up when I walked in and immediately knew something was wrong. What happened? I couldn't speak at first, just pulled out my phone and showed him the dashcam footage. I watched his face change as he viewed it, from confusion to concern to a cold fury I'd rarely seen. He watched it twice. The second time, he paused at certain moments, the firearm being drawn, the knee on my neck, the moment they saw my ID. His jaw tightened with each frame. So, it finally happened. He mumbled under his breath. Dad made some calls, and within an hour, he had pulled up both officers' records. This wasn't their first complaint, just the first one with video evidence and a chief's son. 3 other young men, he said. Similar stops, similar descriptions, all warnings, no official record. I thought about those other young men. They didn't have my last name to save them. They didn't have dash cams. They just had their word against 2 officers. Dad stood up, his decision already made. They pulled a firearm on my son. They terrorized those other young men. This ends now. His voice was steady, but I could see the rage in his eyes. "I'm going to make sure they never wear a badge again." The investigation moved fast. Dad brought in internal affairs and the FBI. The other victims came forward, young black men who'd been too scared to speak up before. 6 months later, I sat in the courtroom front row as the verdict came down. Guilty on all counts. The officer who'd pressed the firearm to my head stood in cuffs, hands trembling as the judge spoke. 25 years. His knees buckled. The bailiff had to steady him. As they led him past my row toward the holding cells, our eyes met. He froze mid-step, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I didn't blink, just stared. He was the one who couldn't breathe now, the one whose life was flashing before his eyes. I wasn't the terrified kid on the concrete anymore. I was the one who ended him.